Those of us paying attention to the box office have been noticing that Disney animated movies just aren't landing with audiences like they used to. In the past, basically anything Disney related would have been an instant hit, making lots of money for the studios, but now at best they're a mediocre success and at worst they're losing millions of dollars. Yet every time a new movie comes out, we always get the same song and dance routine like, okay, this is going to be the one that actually saves the studio. Never mind the fact that a lot of these outlets will also, when the movie's out in theaters, will say like, oh yeah, this is successful. Then after the fact, they'll kind of go back like, okay, that one was a bomb, but this next one's going to be good. And we've kind of heard this before, but to be fair to Wish, during the early stages of the promotional period of this, it did look like it was more of a return to form when it comes to Disney animated movies. I mean, this was from back in June before even the trailer came out for this. And it did look like they were trying to be more of the classic Disney animated movie, but just kind of like a new one, which I think is a fine approach. But now we're starting to get the early projections to see whether this approach is going to work out for them. And so far, I have my doubts whether this is going to succeed. Now, though, this article is coming from Deadline. Disney's Wish Eye's $50 million debut, and ordinarily $50 million is okay, I guess, for an opening weekend. But keep in mind, this is over the Thanksgiving weekend, which is 5 days. So $50 million over a 5-day opening is not very good for this movie. I mean, it's actually pretty much a disaster for it. Wish, if it hits its projections, would reap the biggest original animated opening since 2017's Coco, which also was a Thanksgiving Disney release and did $72.9 million over 5 days. So this is a good apples to apples comparison because it's another 5-day opening for a Disney animated movie. But just listen to this. I mean, this is the next best one since Coco, which is $72.9 million. I mean, that's not really a good thing for Wish looking forward. I mean, it's around half or 50% less than what Coco made. I mean, just a little bit better. I mean, but that's just the quick math, about 50% less than what Coco made. And that was 6 years ago. And this isn't even adjusting for inflation. And it's still over a 5-day weekend. Other notable Disney original animated picks that launched over the Turkey Day holiday include 2016's Moana, 2010 Tangled, and Encanto during the 2021 pandemic. And you look at these numbers for the openings of these movies, not adjusted for inflation. The only one that Wish is going to beat out would be Encanto. And even then, like I said, this is during the pandemic when the theaters weren't even open to full capacity. And this is what they're expecting it just to be able to beat out that movie. So that's not a good sign for Wish. And like I said at the start of this video, we've been seeing this on a lot of their a lot of their movies lately, that they've just been like flopping at the box office. And you look at the long-term projections for this. I mean, this is from Box Office Pro. This was the 3-day opening, what they were expecting for this, and that was $45 to $65 million. So now this has kind of been adjusted according to Deadline to be $50 million over the 5-day weekend. But let's just be going by this numbers right here and look at the total domestic run for this, around $289 million. Now we know the projections as of now are much lower than this, but let's assume that this actually exceeds the projections on here and makes $300 million. Would that be enough for this to actually succeed at the box office? Well, no, because if you look at the budget for Wish, it was around $200 million with probably another $100 million for marketing, which means this needs to make at least $600 million in order for it to break even. I'm not saying even be a success, just to make their money back before they can start turning a profit. Now, if they got 300 million domestically and were able to match that globally, then yeah, this actually breaks even. But I mean, I don't expect that to actually happen because, like I said, it would have to exceed these expectations right here. And those are the expectations that are already higher than what they currently are in articles. Because like, when did this come out? Yeah, October 22nd. So a couple of weeks, or 26, excuse me. So yeah, this is from a couple of weeks ago, and we've already seen them go down since then. And one thing this reminds me of is when we saw with Elemental, because there's even people nowadays who try to say that Elemental was a success at the box office because it's like, oh, it's a $200 million movie. It made $500 million. So that's enough to actually break even, right? Because a lot of people are kind of using that 2 times approach. It's like, okay, if it costs $200 million to make, it needs to make 2 times the box office. Well, that usually neglects the marketing aspect of it. I mean, WDW Pro kind of put out this tweet about a day or so ago, breaking this down, because look at this. Elemental didn't lose money. It grossed just under $500 million on a $200 million budget. And this is a fantastic way of breaking it down. And you got to take into consideration, these are also conservative estimates. The actual spend from Disney is probably higher, but this is just what they're going by. The production cost $200 million. marketing budget, minimum 100 million. And we've been seeing other reports for movies like this that it's probably closer to 150 million, but let's go by 100. They get 50% of the box office because the theaters get their other take. So they spent 300 million, box office 500, net revenue is 250, which means they lost $50 million on Elemental. And that was one that actually surprised people because it had a lot of legs underneath it and lasted in theaters for quite some time. I mean, the initial box office for that, as you can see, was just under $30 million. So people thought like, okay, this is a massive flop. And it still was a flop for them, but it wasn't nearly as bad as what the early projections were suggesting. I mean, I think I even made videos talking about how this looks like it was a complete disaster and they're going to lose 100 million. I can't remember if I was making actual projections on my videos or if that was just something I was tweeting about, but I thought it was going to lose a lot more money than it did. So it did surprise me and was more successful than I initially thought. But still, it was another movie that did lose money for them. And right now, even with Wish, the early projections, if it exceeds those, it's still probably going to be another flop for Disney. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. I mean, why do you think people have just rejected these movies? Even ones like this that look like they're trying to kind of go back to the classic days of Disney, because I'm curious what people have to say about this. And if you like this video, make sure you click that like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date with the latest news. Thank you.